Welcome to the live. Oh, let me retry that again. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the live broadcast for the 8 Steps to Startup. My name's Stepanie Pronk, and I'm coming to you from the Social Enterprise Institute. I'm so glad for you to join us today. We're going to be talking about the basics that you need to know to start a social enterprise. So I'll start by giving you a little bit of background. My colleague Tegan is going to be in the chat box if you have any questions directly in YouTube. But yeah, I'll give you a little bit of a background on us. So we started the Social Enterprise Institute almost 4 years ago now. And the idea behind it was we were doing training and consulting for social entrepreneurs who are people who are really passionate about a community or environmental issue that they're trying to solve in the world, and they're choosing to use business as the way to address it. And most of the folks that we were helping out, they just couldn't either find help that they could afford, or they couldn't travel to the help because it was in a particular area in a big city, and they couldn't pay for what was available. And so that was usually traditional consulting and training and all that kind of stuff. And so we said, hey, what if we provided this stuff online for people that was really easy to use, simple, clear language, actionable tools they could use in their enterprises to help them do that. And so that's what we did. We started Social Enterprise Institute 3 years ago with literally 2 videos that I recorded myself of one of our lead consultants and trainers who is really experienced in social enterprise, Andy. And we sold those videos to a couple large partners who wanted to help social entrepreneurs throughout our country. And that was it. It kind of grew from there really quickly. And now we are 7 staff. We operate in 14 countries. We have partners in 2 other countries who work on the ground with clients. Most of our other countries just access us online. And yeah, we've grown a ton in the last little bit. We have over 5,000 course registrations, so 5,000 course copies have been used, and we have over 100 individual courses on our site. And we also have a really awesome community of folks, social entrepreneurs all around the world, of all ages, really young, Greta Thunberg kind of young, to really old, retired, in the last leg of their life, who still really want to make an impact and want to do it using business because it gives them more flexibility and more power to do what they want to do. So yeah, that's kind of how we got to where we are today. So today's session is going to be about showing you the easy, quick steps that you need to think about if you are really passionate about a social or environmental cause and you want to start taking action to deal with it. Some of the steps are particular to if you want to use business as a tool, but a couple of them are not. They're just good steps to take if you're trying to figure out how to address a particular problem. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen here and show you my PDF. Hopefully this works okay. Okay. So on the Social Enterprise Institute that I was telling you about, we have this series of courses called Steps to Startup. And there are 8 courses. They're really simple. They're about half an hour to an hour in length. And for each of the 8. And they give you some tools and resources you can use in your social enterprise. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about them today after giving you a bit of a background on our site in a little bit more detail. So we've been growing a lot at the Social Enterprise Institute, and we're hoping to help 1 million social entrepreneurs by 2030 to make the impact that they want to make in the world, wherever they are, by giving them simple tools that they need to succeed. And through that, we do, like I mentioned, those courses, but we also do coaching, so you can access an expert from all over the world. We have case studies and video examples of other social enterprises around, and we have inspiration. We have a documentary called The Social Shift, where a couple, actually 4 24-year-olds drove across our country and sort of discovered social enterprise as they went, interviewing over 50 established social enterprises. And so we've got lots of inspirational content from that on how people decide to take stand and take power over their careers and do something to make a difference. And like I mentioned, we have a free community on Facebook. It's called Social Shifters. So you can either search for it on Facebook or go to this link, socialshifters.co/FB for Facebook. And you can connect with people all over the world, ask them questions, connect with them if you find they're close to you, and yeah, get the help you need to start a project you're really passionate about. So I'm going to jump right into steps to startup. I don't think I have to review it much more than what I've already said. But it's online, it's super easy to use. You essentially get access to a course, you click in, it looks just like this, and you have easy tabs to navigate through the course and get the content that you need. Each of the videos is only a couple minutes long, so you can jump in on a lunch break or wherever you are on the bus, headed to school, headed to work, in the evenings, whenever you like, to get the content that you need. And we made this again to provide this clear path, so you know that you're avoiding pitfalls, you're going to avoid falling into traps that many social entrepreneurs fall into, which I'll cover a bit in a few moments, and know that you have a sort of guide on your journey to starting a new business, which is pretty messy and also pretty exciting, but it is always helpful to have a map to help you get there. So we give you that path, like I mentioned, by working through those courses. Whoops. Then we help you, of course, get the knowledge and skills you need to run a business, because most folks who are really passionate about a social or environmental cause don't have a business background, but it's incredibly helpful, regardless of where you end up, to have those basic skills. And like I mentioned, help you avoid those traps. And so you get the courses, the worksheets, examples of other social enterprises with video footage, access to coaches, and access to an online community to keep you supported and to answer any questions as you have them. So here are the 8 steps to startup. So we get from the very beginning, which is defining the social or environmental problem you're looking to solve, all the way to the final step, which is officially launching your enterprise idea after testing it for some time. So in these 8 steps, I'm going to give you a couple really useful tools that you can use, like I mentioned, if you're starting an enterprise or if you're just trying to figure out if this is a good idea for you to pursue. And I hope that these will be helpful for you with whatever you're trying to do with Global Changemakers to address a social or environmental problem. So the first thing is that you have to figure out if the problem you're really passionate about actually exists. So like I mentioned, Greta Thunberg, do we know that, climate change is a real issue? And has it been proven with data that we need to address it? And I think she would say, yes, absolutely. So you need to do that same thing with the social or environmental problem that you're looking to solve. And not only do that, but look at what the cause is of the problem that you're looking at. And I'll describe that in a bit more detail. But thinking more deeply about the problem you're really passionate about and avoiding assuming anything and really digging into information that you can find about the problem will set you off on the best course for addressing your problem, because it will give you ammunition and useful information for how to move forward. The next piece in this section is just clearly identifying and writing down what problem it is you're trying to solve. Who will benefit from the impact that you're going to make? Where are they located? What do they need to do? And what will they get as a result of your work? So if someone is experiencing homelessness, for example, and you want to help address that, you want perhaps people in Detroit who are homeless to find secure housing so that they can live healthier and maybe more employable lives. So by writing out your impact in a statement, I know this sounds really simple, it's really important, one, to communicate to other folks what you're trying to do, and to be clear yourself on what is it that we're trying to do, and who in particular, in what area are we trying to help. Then I would say get out there and try to figure out if there's research on the issue. So you need to write down any assumptions that you have. If it's Homelessness, for example, to use that same example. What are you assuming? Are you assuming people are homeless because they have another issue? Are you assuming people are homeless because there's government problems? Are you assuming it's because drug use? Whatever assumption you have, it doesn't matter. It could be wrong, it could be right. You should be writing those down and trying to figure out if they're actually true or false by looking at data. So you could be researching your government statistics. You could go to your local library and ask for some research, some supporting documentation, and just trying to find out, is what I think actually true? So that's one of the biggest steps to do. And if you can't find information, or you feel like there's not enough information, in-person interviews with people experiencing the problem are the best, hands down. Taking some food and a cup of coffee and hanging out with a person on the street who you see every day, who you really want to help, not only will help you figure out what it is they're experiencing and why they're experiencing this particular problem, but it also helps you connect to that person on a human level and deeply understand where they're coming from. So I definitely recommend doing that. And in this course on the Social Enterprise Institute, we give you all the templates for how to do these kind of interviews and all the guidance and how to create questions that are valid and accurate. The next course in the Steps to Startup suite is planning your social impact. And that's really, really important for identifying both the mission that you're going to be serving with your project, social enterprise or otherwise, and how you're going to get there, how you're going to make an ultimate impact in the world. And so we do that a couple ways. One of the things that I definitely recommend you do is figure out your mission statement. And most folks don't think of a mission statement as anything more than just a statement of what you do in your enterprise or nonprofit or project. But it is really important to be clear that your mission statement lists who you're going to be helping, what problem you're solving for that person you're helping, what activities you're going to be doing to help address it, and then the ultimate change or impact that your work will do. This isn't only just helpful for social enterprise, this is helpful as a personal thing. What is your personal mission statement? Do you want to help? Maybe the beneficiary is you, but you're going to do a cause and use a particular strategy to create impact in your life. Or maybe you have a personal mission to change the lives of others. So I definitely recommend taking a moment to think about your personal mission statement and or the mission statement of your social enterprise. And then what we get into is what's called a theory of change or a logic model. These are used in governments, nonprofits, foundations to help list what social work will happen, what social or environmental impacts will happen. And it's essentially you plotting out what you're going to do, what time you'll invest, what money you'll invest, what activities on a day-to-day basis you'll be doing, and then how to measure the success of those activities, both in the really short term, like how many people you see on a daily basis, or how many people participate in a program, to more longer term outcomes. Do those people see a change in their knowledge, attitudes, skills, or behaviors over a long period of time? And does their status in life change because of the work that you're doing with them? And so this is the start of what we call a success equation or a social impact canvas, which we provide in this course, which gives you a very clear outline on how to list the work that you'll do in your enterprise, at least what you think you'll do when you start at the very beginning, and what impact you think you can make from that. The next course is building support for your cause. So in this part of building your enterprise, you need to really think about who will be on your core team. There's this funny myth kind of going around, through movies like The Wolf of Wall Street and other business-oriented stories, like, the story of Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, that one person makes an enterprise and they make it successful, and then they hire all these people and they grow from there. But for most enterprises of any type, for most organizations, you cannot do it alone. You must have a really strong core team to help you get there, and support from people outside of your work to help you as you grow. So in this course, we talk a lot about how to build a solid core team. And what I would recommend to folks is that you have at least 3 roles. They could be covered by less than 3 people or more than 3 people, but you need someone who can find opportunities and make connections and build relationships. You need someone who is very organized and can manage the work in the enterprise. And you need a technical person who has expertise around the social or environmental issue you're trying to solve. And hopefully someone who also has business expertise if possible. And that could be the manager or the technician. So we sort of start by talking a little bit more about that. And we talk about growing your supportive ecosystem as well. And thinking about not only your core team, which I just talked about, but the larger professional network and wider tribe or movement that you're trying to get engaged by the work that you do. And when I mentioned tribe or movement, I don't know if you guys have seen this YouTube video called The First Follower, but it's hilarious. I recommend checking it out. I have the link written down there, but you could just type it into YouTube. That sort of explores the idea that you need one enthusiastic supporter of your cause to get going, and you need to connect with that person and really support them to help grow a movement of enthusiastic people around your idea. And it's true, it can start with just one really keen person. So I recommend checking that out. It's great inspiration on how to build support around a cause. And we talk about tactics to do that in much more detail in the course. But I find those are the 3 key tips for that course that are useful. Building a core team, building a wider network, and finding people who are real champions and support for your cause. Then the next course is testing ideas on a small scale. And this is sort of, if you're familiar with it, lean business principles, design thinking principles, if you're familiar with business language. This is all about starting something at its smallest piece, so as small as you possibly can, and then growing it from there. So if you could start, let's say, if we're on the homelessness issue, if you wanted to start really small by offering one warming shelter in your city and seeing how that helped over colder months, or if you wanted to start, one food program that worked on a small scale to help 20 people, that could be a great way to start and test your enterprise idea that you figured out. So we help you brainstorm ideas in this section on how to address your social or environmental problem if you don't already have an idea. And then if you do, we show you how to test it, like I mentioned here, how to test that and build on it and learn from the experience to then change and, as we say, iterate, make different your business idea to make it more successful and grow it over time. So I'll share with you this really valuable assessment criteria. There's a guide on how to do it in the course, but you have to be thinking with a good idea. Does it make the impact I want it to? Does it build capacity, or do we have capacity to do it, rather, sorry. So do you have enough people, resources, money to do it? Is there a demand for it? So will government pay for your services? Will customers pay for your services? Can you sell something else that will fund the work that you're trying to do? Can you sell directly to the beneficiaries? You need to make sure that there's demand there for what you're doing. And can you afford it? And will you make money from it to keep moving forward? And you can make that money, like in an enterprise, from selling goods or services in the market, but you can also make that money through social funding, like philanthropy, foundations, and government. And so this whole process, they say iterate and fail fast. It just means start getting out there, trying a product or service, trying your social enterprise idea to see if it'll work. Start as small as you can with the least amount of resources you can. Keep trying it, tweaking, making it better over time. And that's really how you build a successful business. It's not, sitting back and building a 40-page business plan or thinking about it for a really long time. It's really about just getting out there and trying something and seeing if it will work. Now, course 5 out of 8 is about finding your ideal customers. And so what I'll mention about that is with a social enterprise, you're using a business model, but it's different because you don't just have paying customers like any business does. you actually also have people who benefit from the product or service that you're creating. So for example, let's say you started a cafe because you wanted to employ people who couldn't find jobs otherwise, maybe persons with disabilities. And so you're employing those people. Now they might not be the customers of that cafe, but by getting good customers to that cafe who are paying good money for your products and services, then that money can go to support good employment, supportive employment for persons with disabilities. And so it's important to see the difference that the person benefiting from your social enterprise might not always be the customer. They might benefit in one way, maybe by getting good coffee, but the person who's really benefiting, it's different than a regular business. It would be the person with disabilities in this instance. So that's just something to think about. You know, you can have multiple people benefiting in your situation. And always useful to think about your customers, because we're in the customers course here, in different ways. You know, who are they? Where are they located? What do they like? What are their behaviors? And thinking about, you know, what customers come through your doors to purchase a coffee will enable you to better market your products and services to them. And we have a whole suite of courses on that as well, on how to market to your customers. And, you know, when most people in businesses talk about customers, they're looking for, you know, low price, good quality, practical solutions to their problems. But even more so with social enterprises, like if we think of Tom's Shoes, who are getting a lot better at the work that they do, you can see that, you know, people will buy a product for more than just, you know, it looks cool and it is functional and it's not too expensive. They'll also buy it because they want to be tied to something good. They want to feel good about the purchases that they make, and they want to know that they're purchasing from a trustworthy company. And so this Bain & Co. Elements of Value pyramid, or pyramid of values, is really useful when thinking about how to target any group that you're trying to convince to support you in a social project that you're doing or environmental project, and to encourage customers to buy from you. And it just talks about all the motivations that we have as people in our day-to-day lives and how we want to see those fulfilled. So I definitely recommend checking that out. You can Google it, Bain & Co. Elements of Value. And then we've got 3 left here, or 2 left, I should say. 3 left? 3 left, 6, 7, 8. And so the next one is designing your business model. If you guys are familiar with this, there's something called the Business Model Canvas. It was created by a guy named Alexander Osterwalder, and it's great for outlining any program that you need to run for social or environmental benefit. So a business model describes how you're going to do your activities. Doesn't necessarily have to be a business. What you're going to offer your customers and what you'll offer your beneficiaries, who those customers are, and why they will return to keep buying from you, because you're awesome, obviously. And so this is what a social business model canvas looks like. It's a little bit different than a regular business model canvas, but it's beautiful because it takes away a lot of the time commitment of writing a huge business plan. So instead of spending eons writing 40 pages to pitch to a funder or a bank for money, you can start by outlining your each element of your business on one page. It's really good for planning, and it's really good to start showing folks what it is you're trying to do and getting feedback. Now, in banks or if you're looking for money, you'll have to do whatever they ask you to. Sometimes that's a large business plan. But this is a great way to start. And it's useful regardless of whether you're doing a business or a nonprofit or an NGO endeavor. It's really helpful to get sort of all your ideas on one page. There's lots of videos online on how to do a regular business model canvas. And we have one particularly for the social side, which includes, your impact and your community reinvestment, among other things. Then we talk about securing the funding. So once you have an idea, you've gotten some traction, you've tried it, and you've had some success, how do you actually know, how do you actually get money to keep it going? And so in this course, we talk about just sort of discerning what types of costs your business will have. There'll be buildings, there'll be equipment, maybe. Hopefully you can do it really small, maybe in your basement. And then there's, you know, costs like rent and utilities. You have to pay for power, perhaps. You might have to pay for supplies. And then your variable costs are the costs it takes to build your product and service. So if you're a cafe, you know, selling coffee, then that would be sort of some of the materials you would pay for that would get purchased by the customer. So variable costs are only the costs related to things that you sell, and not about just managing, you know, the cafe itself and renting the building and all that kind of stuff. So we show you how to separate out those costs. Then we show you how to separate out the social costs on top of that. So if you have this cafe serving persons with disabilities, you'll probably want extra trainers on site, extra support staff, just to make sure things can run smoothly and that everyone has the support they need. So that would be a social cost to running your business, and that's something completely new to think about in that space. And then how you'll redistribute your profits, because a really, really important part of social enterprise is that the majority of your profits are reinvested to support community. So you're not running this business to make it rich. You're not running this, you know, to become a millionaire. That's not going to happen. The majority of your profits, if you make any, go right back into growing the social enterprise so you can make more social or environmental impact. Our rule is over 50%, usually 60%. Of profits are reinvested. So that's something we talk about in the course, how to think about that. And then how to think about how much money you need on a monthly basis in order to make sure that you are going to survive in the early days and grow your social enterprise. So we give you lots of peace of mind in that sense on how to figure out, you know, this is how much money I need every month, and this is how much money I'll need upfront to keep this thing going. And that's, you know, regardless of whether it's customers paying and giving you that money, or it's a funder or a government or a bank, you still need to plan out how that's going to work. And we also share with you different ways to find funding. So I've mentioned this multiple times in this presentation. So whether you go to a bank, a funder, government, etc., there are multiple ways to get funding, and more available if you are a social enterprise than a traditional business. And more than a nonprofit, because you can also generate your own revenue through selling products and services in the market. And then finally, in the last step, this one I won't go into a ton of detail on, but we help you figure out everything to officially launch your full version of your social enterprise. So if you've been testing it for a while and growing and getting momentum, there's a certain point where you might want to have official branding and come out with a special look or feel, and you want to, you know, drum up a lot of enthusiasm or new customers. You'd want to do that in a launch. So we talk about, you know, maybe you need a particular legal structure, how to get ready for the launch day with a checklist, and how to worry about how to think about licensing, and other concerns, red tape concerns that maybe are required by your local government in order to make those things happen. So yeah, we cover all that in that section. So that's a whirlwind half-hour tour of our Social Enterprise Institute's Steps to Startup. I hope those 8 steps were useful to you in giving you some guidance on this is how one would go about starting a social enterprise. If you follow the steps in this particular order, I find it really useful, and it's really quite easy to, you know, keep yourself going and keep the momentum going. So you're working through the steps you need to get it going. And I wish I had this, you know, 5 years ago when I started this company and was working with hundreds of social enterprises to help figure out, you know, what do we do next, and why aren't I making any traction, and how come I can't get the impact I want out of what I'm trying to do. So I hope it's as useful to you as it has been for me and our clients. And I'm available for questions in the YouTube comments section if you have any. I'm just going to check it out now in case you've had any questions. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can see me here. Okay, so I'm just logging into the page here so I can see if you guys have any questions. Oh, none. Awesome. Well, if you do have any questions in the comments section, I'm around for the next little bit. If you're looking for advice, oh, we've got some chat box people though. Okay, that's great. Oh, cool. Welcome, Charlie. So we've got Charlie from Australia and Niall as well. Didn't say where he's from, but welcome both of you. I see that there are several more of you online watching right now. If you have any other comments you want to mention in the chat, please let me know. I'm just going to write my email in the chat box in case you guys want to get in touch. Okay. Micah says, hi, I'm from the Philippines. When Steph said test the idea first, does the enterprise need to be officially registered as a business, or we wait until we officially launch? Micah, in both situations, or in most jurisdictions, I should say, so in most places around the world, you can start a business without registering it. So I would double check in your local area just to make sure that you're allowed to do that. So it really depends on the legal requirements in your country. But in most cases, you can start testing a social enterprise on a very, very low scale without registering, without paying to be a nonprofit, a for-profit, or any other type of legal entity. So I hope that's helpful. Okay. Tegan, my colleague, who's amazing, I call her the unicorn. She is just answering some chats in the chat box there. You're welcome, Micah. I hope that was helpful. And I think that's about it for us. I don't see any other chats in the chat box. Okay, well, I want to thank you guys so much for listening in today. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions at all, my email is in the chat box and it's at the end of the presentation if you rewind this video. And happy to answer any questions you have. I'm really hoping I'll see you in our free Facebook group, Social Shifters. You can find us on socialshifters.co/FB for Facebook. And I hope you have great success in any endeavor you take on, whether it's a social enterprise or a nonprofit, NGO endeavor, or just simply a project in your community. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope we can be connected. Thank you, guys.